Hi, I'm Mash Bonigala, brand strategist at Spellbrand. Welcome back to the series of The Hero's Journey. In today's video, we're talking about meeting a mentor. The previous video was about the refusal to call to adventure. In this step, the fourth one, it's meeting a mentor. Now, if you look at any of the stories, if you look at any kind of movie, there's always a mentor that comes in, right? So the hero is meets the mentor. The mentor is someone like a guide. It's someone usually older, usually wiser. They have a backstory. They're someone who has been there and done that probably, and so on. Now, in the case of movies, for example, if you look at Lord of the Rings, Gandalf is the mentor. Of course, Gandalf was introduced in the story in the beginning, even in the ordinary world. But here we're talking about Gandalf the mentor, not Gandalf the wizard that Frodo, knows. Gandalf the mentor plays the role of the guide. He motivates Frodo to overcome his objection, his refusal to the call, and to get on the adventure. And throughout the journey process, Gandalf is there to support, to train, to sort of help Frodo. If you look at Star Wars, then Obi-Wan is Luke's mentor, at least the first mentor. And you can have many mentors. When Luke refuses to join or to go to planet Alderaan to join the resistance, Obi-Wan actually gives him a lightsaber and says, this was your father's lightsaber. Your father was a great man and so on. And then you need to help the resistance. You need to save the galaxy from the evil empire. And of course, later for Luke, Yoda becomes the mentor, right? So once Luke completes this journey and starts the next journey, Yoda is the mentor, the journey of becoming a true Jedi. In terms of the Matrix, Morpheus is the mentor, right? So he mentors Neo. He sort of introduces Neo. He calls him to action. And then, of course, he introduces him to the adventure. He helps him navigate the adventure and more. In all these stories, what you see is that the mentor plays a very, very critical role, a very important role. The hero would never have completed the journey, right? They would never have, first of all, gotten onto the path of the journey. And secondly, to overcome the obstacles. And thirdly, to complete the journey. Now, how does this relate to your audience? Your brand needs to address customer objections. And this can be in the form of a mentor or guide, right? So your brand must play the role of the mentor and provide your audience information to combat the objections. Again, this is not a sales process. It is not about, trying to unduly convince your audience. This is not, there's no selling involved here. You shouldn't be selling here. What you're trying to do is provide them knowledge. Action step for this is really to create a content strategy. You need to be the guide. You need to be the mentor. And you have the greatest opportunity now because of the internet, because of technology, because of things like YouTube and blogs. It's relatively easy to play the role of the mentor if you do it from a purely selfless perspective. Now, of course, I get it. We're all in business to make money. At the end of the day, your brand is there to make money. But you could also be selfless in the process if you truly want to help your customers, because that should be your ultimate goal, is to help your customers. You help your customers through your products and service, granted, and they pay you money in return. That's fine. But the purpose is actually helping the customers. And if your customers can be helped through some free information you give them, so be it. If a lot of them take that information, they just consider you as a mentor, they don't end up buying from you, that is fine because you're building authority. So the biggest action step is to build authority in your space. And you do that through a content strategy. You do that by offering selfless, non-sales kind of information, advice, suggestions, training, whatever in your field to your audience free of charge. This is a step that can take up a major chunk of your branding, your exercise, your marketing, your campaigns, because this is where a lot of the game is played. Build up a kind of a content strategy with the goal of becoming an authority in your market segment. Your audience should look at you as a mentor. They should look at you as an authority, as someone who knows that sector, someone who can provide the solutions to that sector. It's not about churning out mindless, cheap content, right? You got to beware of this. It's not about quantity, it's about quality. Because what happened is that when people started realizing this concept, they started reaching out for the low-hanging fruit, which was, okay, and Google is to blame for this, of course, because the way the Google ranking algorithm worked, people wanted to rank their websites and they realized that they needed to have content. And so a content is 500 words of an article, blog post, and you could get 500 posts for like $10 or whatever. And so they started churning out posts, a post a day, sometimes 2 a day, billions of posts on the internet. Cheap, mindless, keyword stuffed. They are just meant for, well, at least initially they were meant for manipulating Google, right? The algorithm to rank, keyword stuffing. But then Google woke up ages ago and they've changed their algorithm. It doesn't work like that anymore, but you would not believe how many people are still in that mindset. And a lot of SEOs, a lot of service providers still continue with those strategies of saying, okay, we will get you ranked. We will provide 5 articles a week, 500 words each. We'll charge you $200 a month or something like that. And look, I'm not saying that the entire SEO industry is like that. Don't get me wrong. There are some awesome service providers out there, but majority are providing this cheap and noisy, utterly useless garbage in terms of content. So don't fall for that. It's not about quantity. Even if you write one single post a month, if you make one video a month, but it has to be high quality. It has to have real information, useful information to your audience, right? This is not about filling pages. It is not about just, nonsense that you cheaply buy and put it on the internet. And that's the reason why there's so much noise out there. And that's why when people produce great content, that content may not make its way to the intended audience because of all the noise out there. And the audience is confused. They're like fed up. I don't blame them. So if you want to become an authority in your market segment, if you want to kind of help your hero, your audience, as a mentor, as a guide, then take a step back, have a strategy, have a kind of a content strategy, have an editorial calendar. Go back to step 1, the objections, right? So the refusal to the call to adventure, pick those objections, those 5 objections, and then make them the base of your content strategy. Each objection, unravel it. What are the other things? What are the related things in their lives that you could write about, or you could talk about, you could provide information about, resources, links, whatever it is that will make your audience life easier, right? Of course, in a way, it will be related to your product or service, but it is not sales. Okay, so that is being a mentor, and it's a huge step. Believe me, it's a huge step. And taking on that role, you got a responsibility, right? So treat it with respect. We think of ourselves as an education company. We are in the business of education. We want to help our target audience learn, be better brands, be better brand builders, to awaken the brands. And that's our tagline. I have written a lot of articles. I've made a few videos on content strategies, on how to build the right kind of content. I will leave a link below. Go check it out. If you have questions about content strategy and this step, being the mentor, how could you be a mentor? Then drop me a line and I will try and answer. If you want to have a one-on-one session with me to discuss on how your brand can be a better mentor, then by all means, let's schedule a call and we'll hash it out. All right? Okay. The next step in the hero's journey is crossing the threshold. and